Hey, what's up, everyone? Here, Mike Croft, Money Coach Mike. Hope you guys are doing great. And hey, listen, about 10 years ago, I came across this trend, this up and coming trend, I guess you could call it, that wasn't amazing. And here's what it was. I was coaching people and working with people who on paper looked amazing. They were what I like. They were asset rich. They were millionaires on paper, but when it came to cash flow, they were living paycheck to paycheck. In fact, in some cases, they were struggling to buy groceries. So the banks love them. The banks absolutely love them and want to continue to extend credit to them because they had so much value asset wise, but they were struggling living paycheck to paycheck, week in, week out, month in, month out here. And that's what they called me in to do. They said, Mike, we look amazing. Technically, by definition, we are millionaires, but we are broke. And we don't know what to do. We're living paycheck to paycheck. Some weeks we're putting groceries on credit cards. I'm struggling with like what I have to put back, right? But the banks look at us and say, hey, we're doing great. What's going on here? And that's where I started to realize there was a trend. It was broke millionaires. A trend of people, who basically probably owned homes. Had you bought 2010, 2011, 2012, we had this big housing boom. I don't know, roughly about 2012, 13, 14, 15 that lasted 5, 6, 7 years. It completely, overvalued the houses that we have. So we were asset rich. We became asset rich, but we also became cash flow poor, right? And so for so many people, it wasn't working. They had a whole bunch of value in their homes. Essentially, well, that's what's happened. Is we had I guess you could call it a housing boom, a price boom, and they were broke. And so, and like what was so crazy about that is like I remember when I bought my first home. I bought it 2010, 260, maybe $70,000 is what I paid for. This was a really nice home, fully detached brick home, 4 bed. Like it was too big of a home for us at the time that we bought it here, but it was kind of in our price range. That same home today, so 15 years later, is over $1.4 million. That was our starter home. Right. Next home we bought was about $300,000. It was legit a starter home, a townhome is what it was. We bought a townhome. That townhome, when I last checked not too long ago, was $1.2 million. Crazy, insane, right? And so all these people got rich in their homes, but they got poorer and poorer and poorer on their cash flow. And if you want, like my opinion, I don't care how asset rich you are. If you are cash flow poor, something isn't connecting right. You can have all the assets in the world, but if you're cash flow poor, you're still living paycheck to paycheck, being cash flow poor. You're still rubbing nickels together to try and make things happen. You're still trying to make ends meet at the end of the month here. And so if you can get a plan together where you can become, yes, asset rich is cool, but with that, you need to come cash flow rich as well. And what I mean by that is you want to have plenty of cash flow each and every month. Okay, so there's a couple ways you can do that. Number one, get rid of credit card debt. Get rid of all debt that does not increase assets for you. Okay, so credit cards, car loans, I'm going to say student loans in there. What's crazy, as I was looking at the stats for college and university, what it cost in 2023, 2024 to go to college and university. Now, this will vary. Obviously, if you're in-state and living at home, it's going to be a lot cheaper than out-of-state. But I saw numbers anywhere from, I saw $60,000 per year, $50,000 per year. And yeah, that might be more Ivy League. That might be like the full stay-on-campus experience, all that fun stuff. But then even I saw $10,000, $15,000 a year from like a community college. And that was just your tuition, right? So you think about that, 4 years of that, of $15K, that's $60,000. And here's what's funny when looking at the stats. Last I checked, roughly about 75% of people that go to college or university actually don't even graduate. And I'm in that stat, by the way. I went to college and I didn't even graduate. Yeah, 75%, give or take. And then out of those who do end up graduating with a diploma or degree or certificate, whatever you decide to graduate with, the majority of those people don't even go and work in the field that they went to school and studied for. In fact, most people within 5 to 10 years of getting out of college, university are not in the field that they went to school for. Now, what's even crazier is what I'm finding now. Like, you go to school for 4 years, and what happens is 5 years after you've graduated, everything you've learned is outdated. Technology and AI is moving that fast now that you go to school for 4 years, and within a couple of years of graduating, you're technically not even up to date with all the new information. Wow, that's crazy. So people, they'll spend $60, $100, $200,000. Now listen, don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking school. If you're a doctor, please, if you're going to operate on me, please go to school, get trained, get certified, do the thing you need to do. Okay? Please. But if you're going to go learn business and get a business degree, again, there's nothing wrong with that. But I would tell my kids, go learn it from a real business person who has had multiple failures and successes and can teach you real world application of how the stuff really works. Because I'll be honest, what they're teaching in college, university about business, I don't know. Take it or leave it. You need real world experience, right? But yeah, that's the idea here is so student loans, okay? Car loans is on there as well. I don't think cars add value. Now, some people will argue, well, during COVID, my car actually went up in value. That's like the first time in history that's ever happened, right? And that happened because we had a shortage of chips. And we had a shortage, right? We had a shortage situation, which generally is not going to happen. So historically, cars don't go up in value. They will go down. Right. And just think about this. If you were to get rid of debt, you would free up cash flow. Right. So there's two rules when it comes. If you want to have more cash flow in your life, there's two things you got to do. Number one, get out of consumer debt. Okay. Again, credit cards, student loans, lines of credit, personal loans. I'll put car loans in there as well. Right. Think about this. Let's just say you have $50,000. You have $50,000 of debt at, let's call it the 20% interest rate, because a lot of people do have that. Some might have more, some might have less. But let's just use $50,000. That's $10,000 a year in interest only. You're probably paying $12,000 to $15,000 a year towards those credit card payments. Well, guess what? You get debt free. You pay off that $50K. You've now freed up $1,000, potentially $1,500 more per month. That's called cash flow. And in my opinion, cash flow is king. You can have all the assets you want. If you don't have cash flow, if you're asset rich and cash flow poor, you're living paycheck to paycheck and you're struggling. There is no glory in that, in my opinion. You want to have both. You want to be asset rich and cash flow rich is what you want here. But getting debt free will make you cash flow rich. The average new car payment right now is roughly about $1,000 a month. That's $12,000 a year. Used car payment, about $750-ish a month. You get rid of those car payments, you've got cash flow. Maybe not cash flow rich, but you got a good bunch of cash flow, and you're doing better, honestly, than 80% of the people out there who are living paycheck to paycheck. If you'll just get out of debt, that's the first move. Get out of all your debt that is not adding value into your asset column. Okay. So everything we just mentioned there. Then the second thing is learn how to invest better than your financial advisor can invest for you. And it's not that hard. If you'll go buy an investing course, if you'll go get an investing mentor or coach, we do that in the Generation Wealth Investment Club. You will learn more with us than your financial advisor will ever teach you, than your financial degree will ever do for you. Hands down. Now, it's going to take a bit of time. There's a learning curve and all that stuff. But if you'll sit down, within 12 months, you will have so much knowledge and understanding of the market that you will have to do better than what your financial advisor is doing for you. Right now, most financial advisors will return for their clients 4 to 6% on average. Now, you might be the financial advisor that's doing a little bit better. I get that. There's outliers. But most financial advisors are 4 to 6. And then even the best ones I've seen do 8 to 10. That's it. Right? You can easily do that. In fact, the stock market has averaged 12 over the last 10, 15 years. 10 to 12. Over the last, almost 100 years, 10.4% to be precise. So just by investing in an index fund, you can outperform your advisor and you save the fees. Anyways, right? And so do those two things. Get out of consumer debt, you're going to free up cash flow right away. Like as soon as you pay off that $50K or $10K or that car loan or whatever it is, you're going to free up somewhere probably in the vicinity of $500 to $2,000 a month. That's kind of the range of debt that people pay. Again, some do more, some do a little bit less, but you're in that range of $500 to $1,000 to $1,500 to $2,000 more per month. That's what I call cash flow. What could you do with an extra $1,000 a month? For most people, that's a vacation 2 times a year, 3 times a year. That's saving up and paying cash for your next car in 24 to 36 months, right? That's potentially cash flowing a community college degree, right? There's so many things you can do with that. That's what we call cash flow. And I'd rather you be cash flow rich and have that than be asset rich and cash flow poor, to be honest. That's my opinion. And then the second thing, the second thing is investing, building wealth. The stock market is the best wealth building tool in the history of our universe. In the history of human civilization, the stock market will break any person. Doesn't matter. Stock market doesn't care what color you are, what religion you are. It doesn't care if you grew up rich, poor, broke, whatever. It doesn't care about the upbringing. It just says if you will utilize the principles that it takes to invest and build wealth, I will make you very wealthy. You give me enough time, I will make you very wealthy. Right? In fact, let me show you guys this here. So one of the rules when it comes to the stock market is this thing that we call compound interest. And what that is basically what type of return you're getting over time here. And we use this thing, you may have heard this, it's called the rule of 72 here, and I'll just go over to my calculator. Basically what you do is you take 72 and you divide it by the type of compound interest you're earning. So again, most advisors are doing 4 to 6%. We'll do 6% in this example. That tells me how long it takes for my money to double. So if I'm earning 6%, it takes 12 years to double, right? 72, if I'm earning 20%, it takes 3.6 years to double. Guess who's earning 20%? Maybe you know this, maybe you don't. Guess who's earning 20%? Just say it out loud. Your credit card companies! That's right. Visa and MasterCard, they understand cash flow rich and how to make it happen. They're charging you 18, 20, 22, 25. Someone told me the other day, 29%. At 29%, guys, check this out. 72 divided by 29. Do this with me if you got a calculator in front of you or your phone. 2.4 years for money to double if you're earning 29%. Wow. That's crazy. So what I want you guys to do is I want you guys to learn to flip the script. Get out of debt. Stop paying Visa 20%. Learn how to invest and become wealthy. Yes, pay someone to learn it. Don't think you're going to get it for free. You don't become a millionaire by being a cheap freebie. Nobody does. Right? Like people that have success, they have success because they pay people who are better than them to teach them the moves they're making. That's how success happens. That's how you become a champion athlete. Right? If you're always checking out for free, and there's nothing wrong with free. I read books and all that as well and listen to podcasts, but I've never transformed my life listening to free information, which is the way it is. But check this out. Like if you were to invest, I'm going to share my investment calculator here with you guys. Just check this out for a sec. Boom. Okay, there it is. Right? Like let's just say you're in your, 40s? 45. Let's just pick a number, 45. We'll run this to 65. So we'll run this for 20 years. And you never invested a dime or saved a dime in your whole life because you've been living paycheck to paycheck and you've been listening to Visa and their propaganda and not really understanding how it all works. You finally get debt free. Okay. Let's just say you free up, $1,000 a month and you were to invest $1,000 a month. Right. And, let's just say you're able to earn 25%. What? 25%? That's insane. Well, I just went live to the Generation Wealth Investment Club yesterday, and I shared with them a company that we're going to buy next that has averaged 27% for the last 20 years. 27% for the last 20 years. This is a stock, a company that companies like Amazon, Apple, Facebook, Tesla, all these great companies use this company. Nvidia, all these great companies you've probably heard about in the news use this company. This company's so quiet. No one ever talks about this company in the news, but they've earned 27%. So I'm going to do 27%. Watch this. $1,000 a month from age 45 to 65. Holy cannoli! That's $9.2 million for those of you listening to this, not watching the video. 20 now is 20%. Like, is that realistic? It is if you get the right companies. For most people, it's not. But 20%. I mean, Apple's averaged 20% for the last 25 years ish, give or take. Even at 20%, that's still from 45 to 65. That's still $3.1 million. In fact, let me roll this back here. Let's go to 60. 45 to 60. What's that? 15 years. $1.1 million. 15 years. $1,000 a month. Basically, what you're paying Visa, what you're paying MasterCard, what you're paying that car payment, invested, will make you a millionaire in roughly 15 years. If invested well. I should put that on there. If invested well. 45 to 60, 50 to 65, 35 to 50. I mean, you do the math. 15 to 30, right? You do the math here. 15 years is what it takes most people to hit that $1 million mark, right? And here's the cool thing about having $1 million invested is you can now, that $1 million should produce for you roughly, give or take, depending on the market and what's going on, roughly 60 to 80, maybe $60 to $100,000 a year in cash flow. That means it will produce that type of cash flow for you every single year for the rest of your life. And you can do it tax-free if you really want to, which is cool. But most people, the way they invest, so that's investing 101. Most people, the way they invest, they only make money if the market moves in one direction. It has to move up and to the right for them to make money. If it moves down or if it goes sideways, they're not making money. That's how most people invest. And like 80% of the time, the market is moving up and to the right, which is the direction we want here. But I've decided I don't want to be a guy that only makes money if the market's going to move up and to the right. If we have a 2-year pullback, if we have a recession for 2 years or 3 years, and the market goes sideways or down, like I don't want my assets just sitting flat. I want to make money as well. And so what we've done, and this is what I'm starting to teach to my students, is we've done this strategy called selling puts or selling calls, depending on which direction we're going here in here. And what's really cool about this strategy is you can make money when the markets are going up, you can make money when the markets are going sideways, and you can make money when the markets are going down. And yes, it sounds risky, but it's actually a pretty conservative approach. So let me give you an example. Let's just say you had $100,000 in this case. Most people will do $100,000 down payment to buy a rental property, $100,000 for a 4-year degree in school. Wink, wink. Is what people are doing here. But instead of going into debt, $100,000 like for school or for a rental property that really is not going to cash flow well. Let's be honest, most rental properties don't cash flow great anymore. Not with high interest rates and with insurance doubling and going up. Like the rental market and having your home or having a home as a cash flow thing. It's not right now it's pretty expensive and steep. It's not working as great as most people hoped it would be. But $100,000 in an individual account will give you 3.3x leverage. So it's really like you have $330,000 to use. And here's the trade that I did last week. I did Nvidia 150 put, and then I sold it. So it was options I was bought. So I was able to sell 22 options contracts, and I made $15 per contract, which is $330 for the week. Now you do this for 4 weeks. That's $1,320, so $1,320 for the month. Hello, there's cash flow. You're now becoming cash flow rich. Put that with now you're debt free and you save $1,000. That's $2,320 a month. You potentially have more cash flow than the average Joe who's asset rich and cash flow poor, right? Which is really cool. So and then let's do this. Let's just say, some weeks we'll average 330. Some weeks we'll do more. Some weeks we'll do a little bit less. But if we were to average 330 per week over 52 weeks, that's $17,160 Divide that by your initial investment of 100,000. That's a 17% return. And here's the crazy part: you're probably going to think I'm crazy, but your money actually isn't even invested in this style of investing. Your money actually hasn't bought anything. It just sits in the account, and you're making money off of contracts. And if you don't understand all that, that's fine. That's like what we teach people in depth when they come work with us. But it's a way to get free cash flow. You saw that $1,300 a month. I don't have a mortgage I got to pay on that. I don't have a property I got to fix up. I don't have to deal with renters, and I'm making more money than most people that own properties make per property they own, right? So that's the cool part. And you can do that in up market, down market, sideways market. You can make money in all directions doing that. And that's what I mean when you want to, invest and learn more than your financial advisor, because your financial advisor won't be able to do that for you. Right? But check this out. For all the parents out there, let me dive through. I'm on a rant now. So let me just dive into one more thing. I believe every single one of you listening to this can become a millionaire. Now, I did some quick math to show you how most of you can do it in 15 years. Check this out. Okay? I'm going to go back here to my investment calculator. For everyone here that has kids, mom and dad, listen up. If you have kids, if you have a newborn, check this out. What if instead of going to 4 years of college or university that's going to give you a degree that won't be, that'll be useless in 4 years, when you spend like $15,000 a year or whatever you're going to spend on it, $100,000 a year, you pick the number. What if instead you invested just that first year's tuition? That's it. Just the first year's tuition. Watch this, okay? If we invest just that first year's tuition, let them go to school, do their thing, but, as part of that plan, you invest that first year's tuition. Check this out. We're going to run this, so let's just say your kids go off at 18. We run this to 33. Let's run it to 33. You invest initial $15,000 because that's what most people will pay that or more to go to school to get a degree that, for most people isn't going to work. And you can still earn that 20%. No, that can't. Oh, I didn't change the top number. That's why. 60 million by the time you're 60. That's insane. Let's go to 32 here. Okay. And then let's change your interest rate. Because again, the company I picked is doing 27%. And I've got a lot of companies that for the last 20 years have done 27%. From age 18 to 32, let's go 33. That's really the benchmark. That's almost $1 million. You're not there, but I guarantee you get there by the time you're 35. Watch this, 18 to 35, $1.4 million. So what if you did this? What if instead of just paying for school and letting them go into debt for school, which most people we know will take years, if not decades, to pay that back? What if you invested that first year's tuition, whatever that is for you, 15K, 20K, 60K, 100K? What if you invested that instead? Let it play out for 15 years, 18 to 33, 15, 16 years, they're a millionaire. They can now buy their first home. They can now have free cash flow of roughly $60,000 to $100,000 per year without ever touching the $1 million principal. That's what I call cash flow rich. It doesn't take a lot to get that started. It takes knowing what to do and actually doing it. Right now in our society, they're teaching you how to stay broke. Listen, Visa wants you to be broke. I don't know if you noticed this, but Visa isn't coming to your door showing you how to become wealthy. Neither is MasterCard. The banks aren't doing it. Right? There's a reason why. When they can earn 20% interest off of you for their whole lives or for your whole life, you've given them literally millions and millions of dollars in free cash flow. That's what they earn from you every single, every year, 20%. Right? And meanwhile, they borrow the money at 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6%. They lend it to you at 20, 22, 25, 29%. They understand the game of free cash flow. My goal is to help teach you guys that. Let me show you one more example here, and then we're going to end it here. For every parent that has like a newborn, listen up. Newborns, because I'm doing this with my kids. If you will invest for them, say starting with $0, and you'll put just $30 a month, $50. Let's call it $50 a month. Anyone could do $50 a month. Okay, $50 a month. Let's run this to 25. Okay. In fact, you know what? Let's run this to college, and then we'll run it past college. Earning 27%, Okay, now again, a lot of people are going to say, Mike, you're crazy. That's undoable. Sure, you can believe that all you want. I'm doing it. So you believe what you want to believe, but if you want to believe you can do 27%, then listen up because you can. My wealth club, we just bought this company literally like a couple days ago. Okay. From 0 to 18, $30 a month or $50 a month ends up being about $269,000. Not bad, not bad. What if we run this to 25 though? Let's run it to 25. Whoa. Wow. Let me run it to 24. 25 is $1.7 million. 24 is $1.3 million. Let's try 23. $1 million. From 0 to 23, $50 a month, which ends up being a total contribution of $13,800. Okay, that's your $50 a month. That's your total contributions, $13,800. Your total growth is over $1 million. That's not even money you've invested. That's how much that $50 a month has earned for you. It's earned over $1 million over 25 years. Hey, what if when your kids get married, most kids are getting married in their mid 20s, late 20s, early 30s. What if when your kids got married, instead of letting them have a $100,000 college degree debt or university degree debt and, having to buy their first home at $10 bazillion because that's what it's going to be in 20 years, and I'm exaggerating, but you know what I'm saying. What if you were to gift them $1 million, say, hey son, hey daughter, I really believed in you, and you didn't know this, and I didn't tell this to you, but since you were born, I've been investing $50 a month into the stock market. You're a millionaire. If you handle this right, you will never, ever, ever, ever have to struggle again. Let me teach you how I grew this and how you can continue to grow this and build a legacy. Heck, maybe even build a dynasty for your kids, my grandkids, and the rest of the generation going forward. What if we had that conversation? Holy cow. So here's where I'm going to end. I was reading this morning that our kids' generation will be the first generation in the history of, our civilization, that will actually do worse than previous generation. They'll be the first generation to do worse than their parents' generation. See, the way it's worked throughout history is our kids have always done better than the parents. Every generation has always done better than the last generation before it. This now they're saying is the first generation that will struggle and do worse than the previous generation. First time in North American civilization, since we've been a country and, built the best, in my opinion, the best wealth building system in the history of the world, a capitalist society. Not perfect, I get that, but honestly, it's been the best system. It's taken more people out of poverty than any other system out there. But I just read this morning that our kids will be the first generation to do worse than their parents. And it broke my heart. And let's be honest, first house I bought was $250,000. My parents, the first house they bought was like $100,000. Their parents, the first house they bought was like $10,000. So, we've seen that happen, but it was still attainable back then. Now that same home, if you want to buy that same home that I bought for $250,000 15 years ago, it's $1.3, $1.4 million. Most kids will not be able to afford that. Food prices. I went shopping the other day. I was at Walmart. It's supposed to be one of the best deals on the planet. Walmart's supposed to have the best prices on food. I checked out. It was $100. I looked down at my groceries and said, what the hell how is that $100? That's not $100 worth of food. I didn't even go shopping for the week. I went shopping for a couple of days. $100? Are you kidding me? Right? We pay more taxes than we ever paid, and I do blame the government for this, and I blame society, people like you and me, for not standing up and fighting this. We just accept it, and that's become a tragedy in our society that we won't stand up to these government guys. But the average person will pay 43% in taxes. All right, and that's not just income tax. That's income tax, property tax, sales tax, investment tax. So I've heard some people pay a car tax. Like, holy, I want to curse right now. I'm not going to. Car tax, not when you buy, but every year when you register the license plate, you got to pay another tax. And then there's a whole bunch of fees. The government doesn't raise taxes anymore. It doesn't raise income tax. What they do is they fee you to death. You add all the fees together, and then the current taxes we have, most people are about 43%. So 43% of your income is gone in taxes. Put that with the cost of living going up, with the cost of houses going up. Yeah, I can see why the next generation is going to struggle. But here's the good news. They don't have to if you will implement and teach them this information now. Teach them how to invest. Teach them how to stay out of debt. The two things I told you, stay out of debt or get out of debt. Invest, learn how to invest better than a financial advisor. Okay. And you will grow wealth at 20, 15, 20, 25, 30%. Okay. You can make cash flow when markets are going up, markets are going down, when markets are going sideways. You don't have to just make money in one direction. Okay. But all that to say this, if you are interested in growing wealth, learning these strategies, if you're asset rich and cash flow poor and you're ready to change the script, if you're giving Visa 20% interest every month or every year, I guess, breaks down monthly, but if you've been in that cycle of paying Visa and MasterCard every year, you're just in debt, you have to reach out. Okay, this is the coaching company that's going to get you guys, A, debt free if you're in debt, B, is going to show you how to become a millionaire through investing and building wealth. Okay. Also, next, if you like this, I encourage you to like, subscribe, share this with your friends, your aunts, your uncles, friends that have parents that have young kids. Show them this. You can absolutely change your family tree if you'll implement the stuff we talked about today, and you will become wealthy. Not just asset wealthy, but you will become cash flow wealthy. We'll see you on the next one.